This video is one of a two-part review of the Neabot NoMo. This is a tabletop review, the other is a more standard review with the usual cleaning tests. If you want to know what I think of this robot, you really want to watch both videos, and I'll link the other review above. The Neabot NoMo is one of the least expensive robots you can buy with an auto-empty docking station, and it's quickly becoming one of my favorite robots because of how completely bug and trouble-free it's been. I'll start the video with a very sped-up unboxing. There's really nothing special about the packaging. The robot comes with the usual stuff, extra side brushes, a spare filter, a remote control, which is nice, especially for filming, though I don't know what you would use it for if you don't film these things. Unfortunately, the bags are unique. They're not compatible with some of the other bags, which is what I just ran off to check. And here is that sound of plastic. So the robot itself is fairly standard in design. The LiDAR dome has a typical click sensor. It's a little bit taller than normal. Not as tall as some others, which in my house means it just gets under things, so it gets a little scratched up. I don't know if you can see that there in the camera. Which, you know, I like to keep my robots nice and clean and shiny for the most part, so it bothers me a little bit, but it's not a big deal, and it probably won't affect most people. It's got three different types of sensors on the front bumper. One of these, this one is a time of flight sensor. I don't know if you could see those two little nodules in there. One is the emitter probably, and one is the receiver. So it uses this to hug the wall. These two are standard infrared sensors, but they're pretty good. This is very gentle when approaching things. For example, the iRobot, the Roomba i7, its infrared sensor is not very good. It's good at picking up walls, so if it approaches the wall, it'll slow down and then bump it gently. Whereas if there's a chair leg, you know, the thing will crash into it. Whereas this one, even small objects like chair legs, it'll slow down and bump gently. So it's a very effective sensor. And, you know, this one is particularly good. It uses it, as I mentioned, to hug the wall, and it does a very good job of staying close to the wall. The only glitch I've ever had with this robot, and it's not the robot's fault, is when a piece of debris got stuck under the LiDAR dome housing, so the clicking thing could no longer work. And the app gave me an error, and I actually didn't quite know how to take this apart, so I ended up removing the bottom plate, which is how you access the battery. It's pretty simple to do, but to take this apart, all you have to do is just lift it up like that. And then these three screws, 1, 2, 3, I believe there's 3, right? Yeah, not 4. And this thing just lifts up, so if you ever need to change this, it's extremely easy to do, and then to put it back on, you just line it up and press it down. Okay, so the bumper is directional, meaning that it's not just this, it's got left and right side sensors. The only thing, I don't know if this is a function of the physical design of this space, or it's just that the robot is extremely good at coming close to objects because of that time of flight sensor. Sometimes it will do this on the chair leg. This part will get snagged in there. Now this is the only robot I know that does that, and these seem fairly standard, so I think it's because this robot is very good at coming close to things. So if I were Neabot, I would do something about the sharpness of this, or maybe put some sort of rubber here so that it wouldn't damage the furniture when it does that. But it's a small issue, no big deal. The dustbin comes out of the rear. It's got the tool holder and a dustbin, which is nice because you don't have to flip the robot up and down when you're cleaning it to get to this. I didn't clean out the dust port, so the dustbin rather. It's a 400 milliliter bin, and you can see, you know, this cleans several times a day, various areas. Mostly cleans my master bedroom and adjacent study. So it's very good at emptying itself. It empties out most of what's in there. This is as good as the iRobot one, at least for the, you know, normal household debris. Now the port is actually very small, so I could see why some reviewers have had issues with like jelly beans or plastic beads not being you know, extracted easily because it is a tiny port. So there's that. Okay, so the filter is accessible from above. I'm not sure if this is a washable filter or not, but I don't wash filters, and I don't recommend that people wash them either. If you have an air compressor, it's better to blow them out with the air compressor. That way you don't have to wait a day for them to dry. So there you go. If you don't have an air compressor, I guess then it matters which filter is washable or not, and I'll make a greater effort in future reviews to find out. Okay, so on this part, the upside down part of the robot, you've got your typical hybrid brush with the rubber fins for carpet or squeegee action on hard floors, and the bristles. Although again, these like typical or most of the ones I've tested, you see the rubber parts aren't quite as tall as these, so they'll barely make contact with the edges, so that's good, and it'll avoid scratching, because if you have contact with the flat part of the rubber, you know, this picks up dirt, and if there's dirt embedded in here, it acts kind of like sandpaper. So that's why I like these hybrid brushes more than all rubber brushes, because they avoid that. And the bristles, of course, don't scratch. And if you could see these bristles, how thick they are. Usually on hybrid brushes, it's very thin. These are kind of bushy and nice. So this will aid in like fine debris pickup, as you will see in my hard floor cleaning test later. Oh, the brush does have removable axles, which I find to be more of a design flaw than a feature, because some brushes like the Ecovacs one don't have removable axles and don't need them, because if there's a gap like this somewhere on the brush, hair will get in there, and so you'll need to remove it to clean it. If there is no gap and if it doesn't, you know, flare out like that, then there's no need to remove it, and it just comes off without removing the axle. So basically, in my experience, if a robot has removable axles, it needs them. If it doesn't have them, it doesn't need them. So it's really a non-issue. The side brushes are an interesting design because they're variable speed, which is great. They spin fast when it's going around the edge of a room, and they slow down in the middle so as not to kick too much debris. As far as maintenance, I don't like the fact that the screw easily separates from the side brush, so you could easily lose it. And if you do, you need to replace the brush. The other thing is, I'm not a big fan of the screw down types, because so in a brush that just pops off, eventually the side brush itself will wear out and won't stay on very well. But that's okay, because these are replaceable items, whereas the threads are in the actual robot. So if the threads wear out, then you're replacing a lot more than just a side brush. And so you kind of, because the screw comes out, you have to align it. And if you don't align it right, you could actually strip the threads in the plastic, and it is just plastic, so it's very easy to do. The front caster wheel comes off, which is great, but there's this annoying little washer, which I don't actually even know if you could, I guess you probably don't even need it. I should throw it away, because it always either falls out somewhere or it falls into here and I have to like spend time scooping it out, and putting it back on is a little bit of a pain, so it doesn't fall into that. There we go. Okay, so, but it's nice that it comes out. Also the, oh, there it goes. The wheel itself comes out from the body of the caster, so that's nice. Additional cleaning there. And now I have to find this thing, scoop it out with my fingernails. You can see why it's annoying and why I make an issue out of it, and then put it in without dropping it back in there. There we go. Okay. Another interesting thing you might notice is these little latchy things. Now, this could be for a future mopping system. I don't know, because it's not out yet. So, you know, maybe that'll be nice if this has a mopping attachment to be able to get for it. But it doesn't connect to anything except possibly these. Perhaps these will serve some function with perhaps, you know, electronically controlled water release, or maybe even a vibrating mopping head that's controlled through this. But we'll see. Speaking of these, when this robot approaches its auto empty station, it turns around, butts up to it where these things make contact with these, and then it knows it's in position, it empties itself, then goes forward, spins around, and goes back to charge. Now, I've always wondered why they couldn't just connect these, wire them to the battery so that they could charge, why they had to turn around. But now I'm thinking perhaps it has to do with the future mopping attachment, where these are needed to power or control that. So again, that would be nice, but we'll see what happens. Now, speaking of the auto empty docking station, it's a pretty good design. As I said, it worked extremely well, maybe not on large things like jelly beans or beads, or maybe large pieces of dog food, although it actually hasn't had any problems with Purina 1. It's the dog food that I use, and it empties that very well. It's got nice rubber feet, so it's not easily moved. This is very accessible. If you get a clog, the tube that goes into the body is right there, so basically the entire thing is accessible. If something clogs, you'll easily be able to fix it. The rubber feet make it difficult to move, and I really haven't had any problems with the robot, you know, nudging this thing around. It's a typical bag system. So it uses these disposable bags with cardboard. Dust is blowing everywhere. Okay, so I don't know if the bin has a sensor that tells it when the bag is full. It probably does. It hasn't given me any issues. Again, this bag, even though I've been using this for a month, my floors are fairly clean because of all the robots I have. So, this only cleans 2 rooms, the master bedroom and the study. So that's about a month's worth of debris, and it's, you know, maybe 20% full. But, you know, and if this were to clean the entire house, obviously that would probably be full by now. But yeah, it's a good bin. I like it. It works very well. I really haven't had any problems with it. And that's the thing with this robot. One of the major things that I want to say in this review is I have not, other than that piece of debris getting stuck in here, which is again, not the robot's fault, it happens, but I have not had a single issue, a single bug, a single failure to do anything. The worst thing this has ever done is when my door was mostly closed, it would go to clean something and then say that it can't get to it. But then next time, it wouldn't realize the door had been opened, so it would say can't reach area, so I would have to drive this thing near the door with the remote control, and then, oh, it found the door was open, and it will go to clean it. That's the worst this has ever done, which is actually amazing, considering all the issues and bugs that I've had with other robots. So I really like this thing, because it's been so trouble-free, and it's got an app feature that I'll talk about later that makes it really unique. So again, please watch my other video, which is the standard review. I'll link it in the description. Thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe. It really helps a lot. So until next time, I'm Mike, and this is Mr. Roombato.